The graveyard shift is always the quietest, or so I thought. My name is Alex, and I work as a delivery driver for a pizza place. One night, as I was about to wrap up, the phone rang. Jake, who took the order, gave me a strange look as he wrote it down. "This is the last one," he said, his voice seemingly tinged with a tremor. The address was on the outskirts of town, in an old abandoned factory district. We didn't normally deliver there, but Jake insisted, muttering, "The customer is always right." As I set off, the sky was pitch black and clouds obscured the full moon. My GPS guided me through narrow, broken roads. There wasn't a soul around, just me and the rumble of my motorcycle. Reaching the factory, I entered through a rusty gate. Inside it was silent and dark, only my own breath audible. I'll have to use my phone's light, I thought, but my phone screen abruptly went black and wouldn't turn back on. Cold sweat prickled my skin. Just then, I felt a distant presence watching me. I quickened my pace and called out, "Pizza delivery!" My voice echoed into the emptiness. No response. Then a sudden shadow darted from one corner to another. My heart leaped into my throat. Probably just an animal, I tried to reassure myself, but something felt deeply wrong. At that moment, an old elevator door creaked open automatically. Instinctively, I stepped inside, and the elevator began to move unexpectedly. When it stopped, the sight before me froze me in my tracks. In a dark room, there was a table illuminated by a flickering lamp. On the table, a dusty pizza box as if it had been there for years, and a note beside it. "I've been expecting you, Alex." The shock of seeing my name there left me paralyzed. In the corner of the room, 2 points of light gleamed in the darkness. Eyes. And then I heard a deep, raspy voice. "Thank you for the delivery." A shiver ran through my entire body, and all I could think of was escape. I pressed the elevator button, but it wouldn't budge. I had no weapon, just an empty pizza box. As the dark figure slowly approached, I threw the box at it in desperation and started running. While sprinting towards the door, all the lights in the factory suddenly flickered, creating a hysterical atmosphere. Reaching the door, I pushed with all my might and finally burst outside. I jumped onto my motorcycle and sped away, never looking back. Once home, I quit my job and never went near that area again. No one believed my story, but I can never forget what happened that night. Now I'm afraid to go out at night. Even the slightest sound outside my house terrifies me. I never learned what was waiting for me in that factory, but one thing is clear: some orders should never be delivered. Night shift had begun again. Thomas was working alone at our small gas station outside the city. The station is located on a deserted road on the edge of a dark forest. Most nights pass very quietly, as hardly anyone uses the road at these hours. A few customers come, get their gas, and quietly continue on their way. But tonight, when the clock struck midnight, one customer caught my attention. He came several times in a black sedan and told me a different story each time. At first, he said he was a detective, then that he was in an emergency. His posture, speech, and gaze were odd and unsettling. With each visit, my suspicion grew a bit more. His repeated visits had turned an ordinary night shift into something dark and dangerous. When the mysterious customer came again, this time he looked around nervously. "This place isn't safe," he said in a low voice. "There's a serial killer in this area, and someone working alone like you could be a target." His words frightened me, but also confused me. On his next visit, his demeanor changed. He acted like a victim seeking help, saying, "Please help, they're following me." These inconsistent stories, coming and going, were increasingly worrying me. Each time I wanted to believe him and help, but my doubt was growing. I decided to observe the situation more. At midnight, I saw him rummaging around outside. There were strange tools, ropes, and tapes in his car trunk. At that moment, I felt the danger was very close, and I knew I had to solve this mystery. The moment it all came to a head was when the customer returned to the station for the last time. His eyes were cold and calculating. "You can't escape now, Thomas," he said with a mocking smile. "I chose you because no one would look for you here." With these words, all the pieces fell into place. He was the serial killer in the area. As adrenaline coursed through my body, Fear gave way to a desperate determination. I had to think fast and make a plan. To distract him, I lied. "The police are on their way. They've spotted you." He looked at me in surprise while I ran to the back store, locked the door from the inside, and called the police. My hand trembled on the phone as I could hear him pounding on the door and hurling threats. Each bang made my heart beat faster. I held my breath waiting, and finally the police sirens cut through the night silence, and the pounding on the door stopped. I held my breath and waited until the police finally arrested him. As he was being arrested, I witnessed his desperate looks, but the relief I felt was not as strong as expected. Even though the situation was resolved, something had changed. The thought of working alone on night shifts scared me, feeling every moment could carry potential danger. Questions about who else the killer's victims were and whether there was more danger still lurking remained in the air. I couldn't help but think, am I really safe? This experience had changed me forever. Night was no longer just a time of silence and peace, but also a period where hidden dangers lurked in my mind.
Today, I'll share a truly lived and spine-chilling hospital horror story with you. Sarah Jennings worked the night shift at Montana Hospital. One night, around 3 o'clock, a call bell rang from room number 4 at the hospital where Sarah was stationed. As Sarah approached the room, an elderly patient named Eleanor shouted from inside, "Nurse, what do you want from me?" Taken aback, Sarah asked, "Who are you talking about?" Eleanor replied, "She's right here. She went to the bathroom." Sarah checked the bathroom but found no one there. When Sarah returned to the room, Eleanor insisted that a nurse had come to her room during the night and spoken to her. Sarah thought Eleanor might have been dreaming and told her to ring the bell if she needed anything, then left the room. A few hours later, Sarah returned to check on Eleanor and found her dead on the bathroom floor. 3 months later, Sarah was again working the night shift at the same hospital. This time, a male patient in his early 60s, staying in room number 4, rang the bell at midnight and asked, "Are you the duty nurse? Then why is this nurse standing here in the corner staring at me?" Sarah replied that it was just her and another nurse present, and there was no one else in the room. Among the hospital staff, there were widespread rumors that the ghost of a nurse who had died from exhaustion in the 1990s at the same hospital had been seen. Sarah and the other staff began to suspect that the mysterious nurse seen by Eleanor and the current patient might be the spirit of the deceased nurse. If this creepy horror story animation has captivated you, subscribe to our channel now for more and continue to uncover secrets hidden in the darkness.